You're listening to 90.8 Hills FM Radio.
This is 90.8 Hills FM radio station, using our voice to rate your choice. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 90.8 Hills FM, the voice of change. And to emphasize more on our theme of our community radio, we have a story that I am sure that all of you would find joy to listen. Well, the theme for today's conversation is called Resilience and Recovery, a Survivor's Tale. And this would be spoken from an experience of a young woman who have experienced it personally and is also a professional speaker for the very resilient journey she has had. I know I'm repeating on these words, but that is exactly what we would be focusing on, because hope and healing, or you can call it a transformative journey, this would be spoken by our sister Vethitalu Veswuh, and she has been very kind actually to willingly come and share her story, which often we don't get to have that. So on that note, I also would like to welcome Dr. Vishala. She is not new to our radio station, but for those who are listening for the first time and tuning into our radio station, Dr. Vishala Rosemary Varghese. She has done her MBBS from Wuhan University in China, and she has done her MD from CMC Vellore, and currently she is with the referral hospital as our radiation oncologist. And it's such a great, time that we get to spend through this space of doing this awareness program, but also bringing in people whom we feel should be here to share the story. And this is something that we've been working for a while, and I'm glad that Dr. Vishala got our sister Vethi to come and share her story. So how about letting Dr. Vishala take the space and give her the freedom? How would she like to introduce this conversation today with our listeners? Dr. Vishala, all to you.
Thank you, Gugu. Just feel so good to be back after a very long time, and really it's a privilege. I thought, all this while I was talking about cancer, I thought maybe we should get a first-hand experience, firsthand. We should hear it from the person who went through it herself. So I met Vethi last year when we both were at church to raise awareness about breast cancer. So she was the one who was sharing her, her experience and her journey with cancer. So I thought that she would be, the right person to be here. So she was diagnosed in 2020 with stage 2 breast cancer. She's undergone surgery in Kohima's hospital in Kohima, and she's got chemo and radiation in referral, and she's doing well so far. She's currently on hormonal treatment. So currently she's a staff nurse. She's a nurse by profession, and she's currently working at ICTC in referral hospital. So so she has a wealth of experience, and she's been, she's very passionate about spreading awareness and, reducing the stigma around the disease. So that's why I'm just happy to have her, and I'm sure we'll learn a lot from her today. So I hand it over to her, and over to you, Vethi. Thank you, and thank you for accepting, and welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity, actually. So, ma'am has introduced me so well, but to add to that, I just want to say, I'm a breast cancer survivor, first and foremost, but by profession, I'm a nurse, like ma'am said, and an avid lover of art and crafts by nature. So today I'm here to share my story, but also to celebrate the strength and resilience that we all possess when we are faced with life's greatest challenges. So, yes.
Well, Vethi, getting to hear your introduction and all that you do, just want to ask you, how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling first a bit nervous, actually, to be here in your presence, but I'm very, very, very grateful. I have been looking forward to this. I was sharing with ma'am also, I wanted an opportunity to share my story. My cancer journey is not a glorious one by far, I'm telling you. But the little experience that I got and the things I went through, I just want to share with people so that the listeners, if they are going through the same thing or like their family members, at least if I can inspire one soul, then I'll be blessed through that.
Thank you, Veti, for your kindness. And I think I'm going to switch to Nagamis as you had desired. Why? It's because, well, our listeners are all mixed communities. And Veti really had this concern and she was sensitive in terms of having this conversation reached out to all common people, especially for those who don't understand English. So I would be happy to switch on to Nagamis. So Veti, apuni la itu kinako diagnose hua time de apuni itu ki laga bhabana ahishe apuni la monte.
My first diagnosis pa time there, when I think back, I was in quarantine. My last COVID duty quarantine thaishe, so like we know quarantine tha them, so we are alone, confined in a room. So that time my oncologist like phone grishe nyarne amni to confirm ase cancer ase stage 2 la ase na, so you'll have to go through all those things nyarne kwado kushe. So I think like it was heartbreaking first and foremost. After that, confusion, and then like shock. I don't know, so many emotions go through kushe nyarne. I think in the confusion, the first thing that popped in my mind was, oh, finally patla ho. That was the first thing that I thought about. So like apart from that, like being a nurse, ini naturally kina itu plan out kuro treatment to kina jawo itu hani first babishe nyarne oncologist lo debi kota kushe like taiwi muki advice kushe like inya han kuro lagibo next step itu ho to sab balo explain kurishe nyarne. The next thing was the hardest thing actually after being diagnosed was how do I tell my parents that I have cancer. That was the hardest thing actually. Yeah, they said so like so many emotions kandishe. I decided that no, itu to overcome kro balo sure balo itu to kitabi itu muge break kro na dio kani to that decision itu time de banaish. Yeah, and then by faith and prayer I started my treatment.
I think you Kwanishna itu bhamna emotion na emotion experience kurado ekta to diagnosed then something manu feel grow na para unless nijor receive kura na aro next question apuni la family kininga respond kuriwo itu hunishe kole aru alop dhamali phale hoise holebi as you've taken it in a very humorous way alop patla hobo na. So I'm sure apuni la babana de it must have been like a galho, you know, like a mixture of everything. So kwa nishina apuni itu jani loishe family logo de conversation kurishe itia do next step itu kininga process kurishe apuni ar kinman time lagishe apuni itu news pa logo de.
To be honest, mula roommate eta thaise du time there. So like I only mala room there balcony ta chutu ta attached thaise so to moi balcony di jeshe nyarne I cried kandishi de bishimon because it's such a shocking news and then over heartbreaking thaise to bishi kandishi nyarne. I think like around 1 or 2 hours to any total breakdown nyarne manigibi khota kwa nai thaise. After that process kurishe like what I'm going through it's not like ko manukumbi itu to face korana jan hoye. I have gone like manu itu go through krabi bishi lok paise moi ICU de kam gram de man last stage kam bishi lok paina sa tone itu decide kurishe ki itu la time de moi nijor ge bangiole na dio aro I will overcome it and then like I will ko like victorious olawo aro itu cancer to overcome kro itu la the decision ekta luise আৰু in the process of treatment মই একবাৰ বি sad হোৱা নাই নে বি নহয় দে বেছি times to like বেছি discouraged বি হৈছে হ'লে বি I try to keep my spirits up like and then so much support mula family mula friends kan nya thaya karne moi ni tuhan so ekta breeze to overcome kra nishna ase actually
I think Kwanishna Abuni like with a lot of support system. So support system. Itu support system kini nga thagi sha Abuni garne like share guru share family lo de and your friends were there for you. So you as a naturalist yourself being positive talk na support is one thing, but when you're alone Abuni ikila thaga time de how did you talk to yourself?
I have a thing like an alter ego ko ina man whenever like kiki go through grow like no Viti that is not going to happen itu bishi kure do moi some people they call me crazy okay my friends and all but then I do that like to rationalize na so like I imagine myself as a patient taking care of myself na and what will I tell to that person I think I had a good conversation with myself and then I talked to God also, okay, like I was questioning him, like, ki karne because family dibi history bi nai, moi kuk budmas kam kura bi no way, like the thing, na naturally it's monday like, no libi like kuma bad habits thaki ase, alcoholism hui, no libi tobacco and all, and yambi ko bi nai ki karne tu shiman confusion tha time de. I tried to rationalize, aro itu like medical profession to alop diri kam gunai hala alop benefits bhi thai chata de like alop nijo ke explain korle pare like inya hambi hu jai to hambi ase like there are so many causes for breast cancer not just this alcoholism or something or family history to ikla no hoy to itu hambi nijo ke rationalize kurine like time to lagise it was not easy but somehow ekta balance jai hole to parise itu time ba
Abuni la understanding ki thagi she with breast cancer, you know, because I'm sure even being from the, you know, working in the hospital, you yourself being a professional nurse, because manungan bisi bhabna kure doctors khan, nurse khan, since manuge sai, takan kita bhi bimar na hoy, aru bimar hoile bhi they know all the answers, na, eninga bhabna kure, to abuni karne kinia thagi she do.
As a nurse thagishe iman boss wa ICU de kam kornai she lui diagnose wa time do na all knowledge to out of the window de ku na jana ojise ki kruo ki se breast cancer bi ki se bi na jana nishna ojise ekdom layman nishna mula oncologist ke question kra do kinya ho to kina ho bishi layman hi ojise by the time do lui I'm so grateful mula oncologist like bhalo explain kurse point by point na don't worry you have to go through this idu chemo lo lagibo surgery ko lagibo itu kro lai tai bhalo explain kurse torne I'm very thankful to her tai muge man inya la time de na bis mu ekdom low point la time de tai muge encourage kurine inya understand ko le dia karne otherwise no like even as a nurse so mu first hunya lo to mu be blank ho jise ki kuro ki no kuro na jana ho jise
So Kwanishna apuni la doctor bhal thaki she na aru tai para apuni ke step by step explain kuri she aru mon bi apuni aram pai she na because what I have understood also from my own sister's experience she is a cervical cancer survivor also cancer patient and we have experienced the emotion too and that's why I can connect with you so much and I wish and I'm also wishing my sister can someday come to the studio you know and speak I did ask her but how I'm trying to relate to you is when a doctor and the patient does not click na your sickness it looks bigger and that's what I saw me as a caregiver to my sister na so I think this conversation is very important, the doctor-patient conversation, the assurance, the confidence, to go through that sickness, whatever, you know, how big or small the sickness is. So ito relationship to abuni karne kinman important thagi she. How much was out of 10 your confidence with your doctor?
Um, okay, for that, I think I have to start from the beginning actually. um, the first thing, like before I was diagnosed, like my first feel grado breast lump ekta feel grishido. So that time I was working in ICU. So like COVID time thagishi, obviously like medical people handle, even if I don't say also tahan understand ko ki ma busy thagishi, no time for yourself. So utu lump to feel to kuri thagishi, will be like I just let it go, like just leave it, this is not important right now. And then my kiandoni breast lump to, like it's common, like fibroid and all thaki, fibroid adenoma han thaki jai, it's quite common. So iman ki babya nai. Maybe once I went for like an ultrasound kroni kuni jado, the radiologist I suspect krushe na itu tolo baldo na dikhe na, maybe it's something kune tadiwai, like I was directly referred to her that she's from Putunyo. Dr. Kedovino, yes, I was directly referred to her, and then from the first meeting itself, like she comfort Kushimigina, like many ladies come with this problem, and then she don't worry, and then the only concern, the first like most important concern was at my age. That time I was 29, so breast cancer is something that I always associated with like people older, older women. So 29 देखि ना breast cancer हो तो एकदम भाबियोले नपराले ताइ कुछ like yeah थाकी cases kan थाकी 1 in 200 women to they get diagnosed with breast cancer at a younger age also nya kurne like ताइ बाल explain कुछ, and then like diagnosis kan karne FNC han biopsy and all those things step by step. She held my hand actually, I am telling you, from the first day I met her itself. So like it was quite comforting actually, the whole journey. And then not only that, apart from the medical side, my friends, from the time like my cancer ho pare suspect hua time bado, they did not leave me. They were with me day and night. Like I was living in Kohima alone, so my parents were in Dimapur, but they boria bister bandina ejise gode. So day and night they will stay with me, and then like they don't leave me alone. So there was that support system was there. So I'm very lucky actually, I'm very blessed in that manner. So maybe if I didn't have that, then maybe I would have a like bigger mental breakdown. But because of all those support, like I'm very thankful to them, forever grateful. Because of that I was able to go through. So that has become, maybe because of that also, like after I have survived it, I haven't fully gone through everything. I still have a few more years of like PET scan and all to be 100% clear. But itu hanso thagyarane I want to give that same support to other people, even if I know them or not na. So like through my story tahangi inspire ko na, like it's possible to have a life after cancer, and it's not a death sentence na. Ito han janyo dulamon na.
Wow, Vithi, I think that's just so amazing. And that is the reason you're here and sharing the story of yours. So your treatment started.
Yes.
Yeah? So with Genesis to everything, you got a great support system, a great understanding, apuna environment bi tik tak tagisha apuni karne, and then your treatment started. And during that whole treatment, apuni what did you see?
Like in me or like my surroundings?
Your surroundings, in you. Did something change about you? The way you saw life?
Yes, definitely, absolutely. Like when I went, cancer go through Koradona, like I discovered an inner strength koni. Like I thought like I didn't have that, but ekdom like down moment then parode inya like ta nijor positive thought na nijor like I can do it, itula importance to janiola parshimo. That is one thing that it like the absolute thing that I have learned from cancer. When we think like iman kiba down feel kora time dibi like moi to paribo itula feeling do na itu to so many thakini itu bhabe asime aro itu ahiole itula feeling man realize korle do. I think we have to go through something like that. Only that time we realize that we have that resilience and power in us. And then the other thing is prayer, the power of prayer na. The way it comforted me, like okay, there are so many physical comforts and all, but pray kurne moi aram pa do na itu zo alak thai shi like man feel kurse the comfort through prayer na and just reading the word of God na hoi Christian ase Christian life lead kore ase holiwe I don't know that connection be harai jao na man hospital de kam kore kurne just work duty nya ho jao holiwe in a lot time there I think it gave me an opportunity to come closer with God also actually itu thai shi and then what was the question?
And this is a very natural conversation, listeners. The other question, I mean, it's a very similar, like your interpersonal relationship with yourself, the before and after, aro apunila surrounding, na, your perspective about
okay.
life, na.
Oh my God. So like I said, like the power of resilience that I learned, and then gratitude, like. Every sunrise, every breath that I take, every laughter that I'm sharing with my friends, that became so precious, and I'm so grateful for that. Itu bishi learn gushe, and then like, itu importance of human connection, na, mula relationships kan itu importance diyo le nurture kro le itu la importance ekta itu that I learned. Aro life to ekdom precious as de like. Mo itya man successful huine man top te thayo pare but then life to it can just go by in one second to learn kusha so not focusing so much on the future or my achievements I want to earn this I want to do this only what I am doing today I will do it to my heart's content I will make sure that I'm happy today it will learn kusha it will be cancer na that whole perspective change kusha.
Wow. Dr. Vishala, you want to say something as we continue listening to Vethi?
Nothing. I don't know. I'm feeling maybe inspired hearing it. So yeah, I think I'll let her talk.
Yeah. I mean, the listeners and Dr. Vishala and me, we're totally soaked into Vethi's sharing. So with that treatment and everything, has there been a change in your body? The side effects, if any, because a lot of people fear itu loishigula enega hojawo. Some in assumption, some with experience, na. Itu warne. Can you share that with us?
Yes, sure. First and foremost, like initially when I got the news and I said that patla hubo, that never happened. Instead, I gained weight. I gained so much weight that I was unrecognizable to some people actually. But it seems like that is one of the side effects of cancer treatment because of the steroids and all. So that was one thing. And then just bodily changes and all, like because of the radiation, the darkening of the skin and all, I still have it, but it's getting lighter now. And then I had terrible back actually prior to this also, but after chemo, like my back became worse. Bikado na.
Okay.
And then hair fall is something that man chemo luisholo we can expect. Some chemo drugs to actually negire only moi to stop girishe actually. So like my first 3 cycle lo amde actually stop girine ekdom taklu jese nyarne break ekta paise for radiation na inala time actually olai tha dar next 3 cycle lo time that we stop girishe. But one thing I want to like emphasize, man video hande man dikhe cancer thaina chuli girishe man emotional, but for me it was so liberating. Like when will I get a chance to be taklu na like as a girl?
Oh my God, Vinti. You're the opposite of.
But that's the mindset I try to keep, and I think it helped me a lot, like to see it in a positive. Na? So I was telling my friends, the hair that like hawa do mahala scalp chodo Allah kasi de bishi muza se like now in this heat na Dimapur heat how I wish I could roam taklu na. Girls will understand like just one strand of hair we can man disturb de na. So, like, yeah, those are the things like bodily changes and all, like fatigue and all, it was there. And then luckily I had no effect on that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yes, my menstrual cycles, it didn't affect my menstrual cycle. So like whenever I went for a checkup and all, the oncologist will ask me like, your period has stopped, but no, it's going regularly. Like
wow,
it
amazing.
was like that. I think that is something a rare case that they keep asking me that, but for me till now I am okay.
Praise God.
Even on hormonal therapy also, like some women they go through menopause, not so but premature menopause, but for me it's okay till now.
Any like post radiation, did you have any lung issues or anything that maybe?
Yes, during my radiation, I had this pulmonary edema, like the pani na lungs day nya thoa do. So I used to cough a lot, but uku no la just pani ekta dita drop that. But that side effect was explained to me. Itu huhu pare na, so like chest infection to thaya nai, but just this mild pulmonary edema thaise. So till now, like when I wake up in the morning, I wake up with so much, like in layman term, butter.
Yeah,
I wake up
winter
with
stock.
butter in my throat. Like that is one thing I go through.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, another thing I want to ask is, when you did the surgery, did you get a lumpectomy or a mastectomy? And just could you explain to the viewers the difference
Yeah,
between both?
I got a lumpectomy. Actually, like they could have done a mastectomy, it seems, partial mastectomy, but they decided to do a lumpectomy because they thought I was too young to have a mastectomy that time. So yeah, a lumpectomy is just something that they remove the tumor, the lump,
Okay.
so and they preserve the breast.
Oh.
So it was like that, and then I had 15 to 20 lymph nodes removed from under my armpit, and there was a slight metastasis. So like one more tissue was removed from under my arm. So yeah, those things were done.
I'm finding this whole conversation so interesting, and questions are popping up, but I just don't know which one to choose, So, because like Dr. Vishala can use all the medical terms, and I'm a little lost in that, but in a layman's term, because an understanding that we want our listeners to also know, because the moment we say breast cancer, it's like we think, oh, flat chest, it's been removed, So how you, as someone who have gone through this, did you have that fear that your breast would be removed? I mean, just even before going through the treatment, but just the idea of it.
Yeah, that came to mind. Ito to hoy thagishi breast cancer. So ito to obviously breast to remove grow, like you that fear to thagishi nyarne. Already I'm very flat chested, okay, and then to have it removed completely, and then at that age to bishi like body dysmorphia, like ito han babi ne bishi munduk to lagishe, but luckily my onco surgeon, they decided to preserve my breast and just remove the lump na.
So it is, I don't know, Dr. Vishala, is this the right way of asking also, because I do not wish to be insensitive. So having not your breast being removed, so is everything functioning normally now? Is that the right way of asking?
Yeah, it is, yeah. So the thing is, usually, I think maybe this also I should emphasize to the viewers, the earlier the stage, we can always do a lumpectomy.
Okay.
Stage 1, stage 2, we can get away with a lumpectomy. Once it becomes stage 3, very less chance of doing a lumpectomy. The whole breast has to be removed. So this is also another thing, that if you find a lump, the earlier you detect, the better, always, because it psychologically affects any woman if you remove her entire breast, whatever age it is. It's uterus, breast, these are not, these are things, these are private parts which you live with for a long time, and to have it removed, of course, I don't think any woman would be okay with that. So there's also an emphasis that, the earlier you detect it, the better. And the earlier stages, we can always get away with a lumpectomy. Otherwise, we have to go for a mastectomy, which is a removal of the entire breast.
But is that depending on the stage of your
stage,
cancer?
Yes, the stage.
So how do you counsel a patient who is, because the good part about Vithi is that she is, a professional nurse, right? Not that I'm saying, or the listener is assuming that, nurse ase kunoy, doctor ase kunoy, even if sickness comes. We're all human beings, and we go through all kinds of, war in our head. So how do you counsel a person who has reached a certain point of their cancer stage, to proceed with the necessary treatment, or even to calm that person to accept the fact that this is there?
Okay, so usually, it's, to be very honest, it's a very difficult job, because when they hear cancer itself, it's like a shock. There's so many, like how Betty mentioned, there's a lot of emotions involved. There is shock, there's denial, there is depression and all that, and they comes first time to us with all of that. So first you'll have to address all those emotions and all that, and there's a lot of denial. It takes a lot of acceptance, take a lot of time. Some people take 1 month to accept that they have cancer, and then the stigma factor is there, then telling family members, all those kind of things are there. So that finally that takes time. So first you have to quell all those emotions, you have to address those emotions first, and then after maybe calming them down. Main thing is to calm them down and tell them, and everything depends on the stage. Like, if it's an early stage, I can always reassure them that there's a higher chance of survival. When it becomes a stage 3 and stage 4, especially a stage 4, a last stage where the options are less, we have limited options, that is when, as an oncologist, I find it very challenging, because even the patient cannot accept it, that they have just only a few years to live, or a few months to live. The family cannot accept it. They try to somehow bargain with God, like, give me some more time, I don't want to die young. All those things are there. So it's very challenging, a stage 4 person, to counsel them, to tell them you have stage 4, and to tell them that even if we give treatment, sometimes they can live longer depending on what kind of cancer it is, or what type, all those things. But sometimes they don't. Most of the time they don't. The survival is quite less. So that becomes a huge challenge. Sometimes they'll be like, okay, even if some people, if they're especially from the village, they'll just say, I remember one lung cancer patient, so he was last stage, so family said, you're from the village, it's last stage, so we just take him home. Anyway, we don't have the money to come to and fro, so just let it be. Some people they'll be like, okay, it's last stage, let's not take treatment, let him go peacefully. So all those challenges are there, I would say, with the stage 4, especially with the stage 4, it's challenging. Stage 3, what we tell them is, of course, first we have to calm them down and tell them, address all that fears and anxieties that they have. Some people don't want to take treatment, so maybe they go for, prayer or somewhere else first and then come to us. All those things are there. They want to discuss with family. So once all those questions are addressed, then we have to tell them, you have to go for chemotherapy, then radiation, and we remove that whole breast. All those things are there. So I don't know, I found that women here, okay, I think mostly the talk of mastectomy is done by the surgeon. So I think maybe they counsel well, because they kind of agree to the surgery. From my part, I mostly counsel for chemo and radiation, which they're willing for. Some people may not be willing for chemo, sometimes not for radiation, but for surgery, I think most of them agree. We have never had any patient who said don't do a mastectomy and all that. So I think so far it's been like that, as far as I can say.
So how do you rate breast cancer in the state of Nagaland? As in, where is it placed?
It is in women. It's the second common
Really?
in Nagaland. In Northeast, it is the commonest. In India, it is the commonest, and in the world, among all women, it's the commonest. Breast cancer is the commonest cancer in the world. In Nagaland, it is number 2. Cervical
My
cancer is
goodness.
number 1
Wow.
in Nagaland. So yeah.
What could be the cause for it, doctor?
I would say late marriages. Here would be that, because having children after 35, and mainly thing is, it's a hormonal dependent cancer, breast cancer. So anything that will increase your menstrual cycles, you have a chance of having breast cancer. So if you have a early menstrual cycle, like before 10, and late menopause, like 58, so you're menstruating that much time. And the thing is, women who are not married, there's a lot of unmarried women here. So if you're not married, you're still menstruating. If you have a kid, you're breastfeeding, and then the menstruation stops. So the one is, if you're not married, if you don't bear children. One is if you don't bear children, and if you bear children after a certain age, that can affect. Then obesity is there, smoking, alcohol, family history. There are women with family history of breast cancer. And if you take hormonal pills, because these contain those hormones which can predispose to cancer. So, but main thing I feel is a lot of late marriages and late childbirth. And because of late marriage, some women are not able to bear children, and so because of that, those women are more at risk for developing breast cancer. That's what I feel in this state.
So, just this part where you say late marriages, and yeah, I think because I've also seen the health of the individual, the lifestyle. Isn't that part of all these things?
I think more of urbanization.
Yes,
I've seen
yes.
mostly breast cancer, like cervical cancer we see it not so much in the more developed countries. We see it more in the developing countries. But breast cancer is more of a urban cities, developed countries kind of a cancer. So we are all moving towards our urbanization. So I
Correct.
think because of our lifestyle changes also, more women are getting predisposed to breast cancer. That's what I
Yes.
feel. It's more of a life, like how you said, it's correct, like a lifestyle change also that is affecting.
Because our food changes
Yeah,
change, the
exactly.
way we live has changed, our work culture,
Yes,
the way we socialize.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think a lot of this does have an impact on our body,
Exactly.
and the level of stress is different altogether.
Exactly.
If you're in a village, that's a different level of stress, but you also have the nature that heals you. But when you're staying in a city, it's impossible. It's
Yeah,
chaotic.
exactly. Yeah.
So I think it adds more to our body getting more sick, and all kinds of unhealthy conversation, because what we say, what we put inside our mind, it also builds us. But like you said, there's a time for everything, right? Um, but how I wish the society, not only because coming back to this, since we're talking about women's health, women's body, I think this conversation is also important because I get a lot of stigmatized statement like, "Buri hua se time de shadi na kurule bacha bhi na pabo," But how I wish it was delivered properly rather than making you feel sick about
Exactly.
yourself and say, am I getting laid? Everyone is getting married and I won't get a baby. I've heard that a lot from a lot of women, even from our elders also, who are still spinsters, who have not got married. And there are women who've got married and have had kids, after 40, and their babies have been healthy. So it's not a case of everyone, but the way we are pressurized to get married and bear a child, it's crazy and scary at the same time. And the amount of stress that we put in our body just to be presentable and desired and get married and settle down, and then you're called a complete woman. This is all
Yes, yes.
connected, you see. I've also had friends, girls who have been wanting to satisfy their parents in wanting, like, losing weight so that they can attract handsome men or lucrative men, blah blah blah. But he's not happy at all inside her, you know and if we look at the past, our elders, well, we've met, you go to villages, a family would have 12, 13 kids. I feel for the mother. I really wonder how they managed it and they did it.
Yeah,
Today
it's
they've
true.
given birth, the next few hours they're already in the field. I'm amazed by women's body,
Yes,
how resilient it is. I don't know how medical science is able to explain this, but you go to villages and just interview them for any research work or, on medical, and we've asked them. I've done a couple of research work through other work that I was assigned with, and it was a lot to do with breastfeeding, and how many children they have, given birth to. And the third one was about their menstruation cycle. The fourth one was about, anemic, being anemic, and a lot of other things. And it was actually very sad. Women's health is never a priority,
Exactly.
even traditionally. The way of life it has been, innocently in many ways, and how her body has coped. It amazes me, honestly.
Seriously.
And she's given birth to so many babies, and she's so happy with all of them, And I think the joy of, there was a woman who said, I want to give more. I mean, I want to give more babies when she sees other women having babies. There are some cravings like that, I'm told. And she was one such person. I said, have you gone nuts? Have you gone crazy? And she's like, no, there's something in me and I want to have more babies, And I'm like, one side, I'm thinking of like, oh, poor woman, she must be feeling so, hard in her life. And there's one side of the other woman who wants more babies, It's crazy. But I think as women to women, I think it's very important to have this conversation. No matter
Exactly.
how silly it may sound, but women to women conversation is so important because it decides the future of the generation,
Exactly.
And if the woman herself is not happy with her body, she definitely passes on that vibe to her daughter, to her children, and so on and so forth. So the health of the family is a lot to do with the women. So there's one question that I want to ask. Though we're talking about breast cancer, this is very much also related to, um, women uh, not being able to bear a child, you know. So can we also include in this conversation, Viti and Dr. Vishala, you being a professional nurse, with your experience, being a nurse, you've gone through so much and you've overcome, and this resilient journey of yours is such an epic example for us to find a strength and be inspired. There's also the other side of the story of women, where they say that women are supposed to be responsible for giving a male child, you know? So, as a doctor, as a medical practitioner, what do you have in this? Is it the women alone who's responsible for that? Or is it who's responsible for giving? Who determines, you know? Because this is all connected. So, I want to broaden the conversation if you don't mind. Because women, we get so pressurized, like how Viti thought, did I do something wrong with my body? Now, all these things comes not just like that. There are some sources that makes women think that she's responsible for the sickness, you know. So please, Dr. Vishala, I would be very happy. This is a personal question since we're talking about women's health.
Okay. So this was also, I think, Amir Khan also addressed this in one of his episodes on Satyamev Jayate. I think when he was talking about female infanticide. Is a male, I think we know chromosome for female is XX and chromosome for male is XY. So one X the mother will give, the Y has to come from the father. So he was basically saying it's the father who has to be blamed. Why are you blaming the mother? Because she's giving the X, the Y has to be given by the father. If he gives a X from his side, it becomes a female child. So we end up blaming women, but then the thing is, it takes two to make a kid. No, it's not just one lady alone. She gives birth, but then of course we need an X and a Y to make a male. And it is sad. I mean, in this country, what is happening? The preference for a male child because they want an heir to the family property or whatever reasons we may have. It's kind of sad to see this. To be very honest, very saddening, but. That's how people's mindset are. Some people never change. They just stick to their, the way that they have been thinking for a long time. But we also have to realize it's not always the women. She can't control a body like that. It's all decided by God. And, the male is also responsible in a way, And there's another, like, most of the time if a woman can't bear a child, they're like, well, there must be something wrong with her. There can be something wrong with the husband as well. Male infertility can also be there. How is it that the woman is always blamed for being, not producing a child, So, I don't know, somehow we are always blamed by society for everything, whether it's our fault or not.
I guess we're the easy punching back.
Maybe, yeah.
And sometimes we allow, and I think that strengthens the force to make women feel that she's very weak and she's not capable to decide for herself. Exactly. But I think this is a very important conversation because today we're talking about breasts. To talk about breasts in public domain, and radio station is a public domain. I mean, basically coming down to even to talk about anything about your body is a taboo. From breast to menstruation to your vagina, sex education. You have to change the whole language to fit the community preference of how it should be presented. I mean, how can you cut into pieces and turn it into something else? It is what it is. And I think there was a conversation about how even the teachers themselves are shy to talk about or to take the biology classes. I mean, I still remember in class 9 we have the genital page, and we are very excited as students because we are very notorious and everybody is, but the teachers themselves are shy to talk about it because they are not comfortable, and that's the reason I think we become very negative about our body.
Exactly.
It all starts from our education system. So today Viti talking about her experience, this itself only is an individual choice that can make a change in our society. Unless we as an individual make an effort to share our story, we will always be stigmatized for something that is of no control of ours, but the decisions that we make really makes a difference, Exactly. So Viti, the other side of your story is that you are passionate about, working with people with positive HIV and AIDS, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
would you mind sharing a little bit about that? And why did you want to give your time in that?
After I was done with my treatment, I was looking like I wanted to get back into my work again. That was the first thing. Like, kamde pat join grow. That was my first target. So, like, when I was looking for a job, I got an opportunity to work for these NSEX. So like, these are,
Yes.
we all know NSEX. So, excuse me. And I was lucky enough to be appointed by PAT. Actually, this is a non-governmental organization, PAT. They work in a collaboration with NSEX. So I was appointed by them, and then I got appointed in CHSR. So now I'm working as a staff nurse, but I indulge in counseling. I indulge in data management, and then like giving out medications and all. So when I was joining, I'm like, even though I have been in the medical profession for a few years now, I realized that I don't know many things about HIV. It was totally like a very new concept actually. Like, we know what is HIV, we know what is AIDS, so like we know the difference about that also. It can be a separate conversation also, but to learn the in-depth things about HIV, that was like quite suku kolai dishe. And then from there, once I learned these few things, I became passionate that no, public should know about these things na. Manu itu janyo lagi. That came to mind. And then now my next goal is like, I want to inform people about HIV. So anywhere I go, like, it doesn't have to be a public place, like manu stage te khara korne manu ko, not like that. But my group of friends, they know about HIV, okay, because I'm talking to them about HIV all the time. And I'm so lucky that I have friends who are always interested to learn something new. So like my ini chutu group te jaisuguli, I keep telling them about the difference between HIV and AIDS, and then what HIV really is, and then how to stop like the spread of HIV, and then the whole stigma around this HIV. Like, people are not coming out because everyone who, like, if you hear that somebody is HIV positive, the first thing that comes to mind, hey, through sex, like that. But that's not the only thing. And then if somebody is an HIV positive parent, then we think that as a society, we think that their children, everyone is positive like that. But it's totally different. Like, it's a whole new world for me also. And then it's very interesting. And then even our patients also, when they get diagnosed by with HIV positive, as HIV positive, maantang disclose kura time, the first thing to khatam, my life is over, I better die.
Yeah.
That's the first thing they openly say. Some they say it, some they cry, but we understand. Only maantang explain grab shito tando, ay ito to ko no do na, ito to inyaso means they never knew. Like, man, only given that they have all that information also, it's still hard to come out to other people to say that I have HIV. So that is mostly because of the stigma surrounding that disease. So if I am given an opportunity, then I would like to talk more about HIV to people also. The little knowledge that I have, I'm very new to this department, so I don't know much about it, but the little knowledge that I have has helped me to understand the disease, and then how I can help them, help the people with HIV. So yeah, I'm passionate about that also.
Well, I think that's where you begin, with a baby step.
Yeah,
And we look forward at our radio station for you to come back if you're
sure.
willing
Yeah,
to speak in length, because this is something I think our state is still number one.
Yes, it
And
has
that is a
come down
sad
to
part.
number 2 recently.
Well, thank God, number 2. But it also shows the sad side of our state. And I think we need to fill the gap.
Yes.
The department alone cannot do it, and everybody has to come out, because it's the society. Someone who has discovered something about one's health, how does the person rehabilitate back to the society? And if the society does not have awareness, does not create an environment for that individual to live again with dignity, that's where, more than the sickness, is the society's stigma that kills a person.
Yes,
The sickness in our mindset, the way we look at things, or the way we say things, na na kwelewi suku bara na mukhala expression bara non verbally mukhan manu ke kininga treat kure makes the person who is going through so much go through more. That is unbearable.
On that point, I want to emphasize
Yes,
something
please.
like not just the society, okay, but the person who is diagnosed with HIV, with HIV positivity, the person itself discriminates themselves.
True,
Like
true.
they think like there are something totally like done for like better to die. That's the mentality that we carry, not just from the society, but that's why I feel like every individual should like before we reach the society, every individual should know what is HIV and then know how it is caused and how it can be treated. It's not curable, but it's controllable. So I think that information should be like given widespread to the society. That is how we will change the mindset. Huh? And yeah, you want to add anything?
Mindset.
Please.
Mindset is the gold mine.
Yes.
Where all the screws and nut bolts have to be fixed, you know, because that's the whole boiling point is na bhavana mukhan the way we think, our thought process. Because kunba khan to kinman be educate kure thakile bi na hobo means na hobo de thaki jai na, because the COVID was a fine example to show the true nature of our society. You know, it was very sad. So we are in that stage, and we have to be relentless in pursuing this awareness campaign, you know, at every level. In fact, I used to think awareness kile koi thakibo lage ho na. I used to think like that, honestly. But I realized the continuation of the awareness campaign should continue till people understand the last drop of that person. Na? It is a continuous, it's a mission. It's a movement. Awareness, I look at awareness as a movement. Campaign is very short-lived, you know, but the movement is a continuous exercise. You know, whether people listen or don't listen, you got to continue doing it.
Exactly.
You know, because this is an ongoing process, and we as human beings, we take time to understand even a simple thing. Time loido. Okay, theoretically bhuji jaishe. Now, how do we practice? So unless we practice, it doesn't become a habit, and we don't even realize that, you know, our bad habits came from daily practice, unconsciously. So just like the advertisement in our TVs, you know, just 30 seconds, but it's already stuck in our head after continuous popping in our screens, right? We don't want to see, but we already know the song at the back of our head. So consciously, they're playing with our minds. So likewise, even the awareness positive messages, we need to keep doing it, no matter whether people listen or not. We got to do it. So I hope listeners, please don't get irritated when people talk about you know, campaigns or awareness programs, because it's for the safety and well-being of the people. You know, it's not something that people wake up and then aji camping chawo eniga no hoy. It is for a cause, you know, for the safety for every individual, not leaving out anyone behind. I think, you know, Viti, you have really shared in depth about your journey, you know, especially very in short. But I think that itself tells a lot, you know, as a person. I mean, looking at you, nobody would have said that, you know, you went through all this, you know, sufferings. But today you sit here with great joy in your heart, wanting to share, wanting to have people take a little peekaboo into your experience as a patient, and now, you know, how you're helping out people, telling about the body positivity, and also how one can get through with any kind of sickness that they go through. I think that itself is a blessing, and having you at our studio has been great. Is there anything that you would like to say that where we may have missed out?
First of all, like I said, I'm very grateful for this opportunity. This is like, it has been a dream from the time I started my treatment. I have to speak about it. I want to inspire people. I don't know if people will be inspired. Some might be irritated by my voice also, but
Oh, no, not like that.
But,
Positive talk,
yeah.
girl. Positive talk. Yeah.
Okay, like that is one thing that I really wanted, and this is like the epitome. Like I never expected me to be sitting in a radio station and then talking to ma'am and then with Dr. Vishala here. I'm so thankful. So like what my final message will be like, I'm very lucky, I'm blessed. I never thought like cancer was like a punishment or something. I never took it that way. I always felt that I'm very lucky that I've gone through that. It has helped me to understand like my human connections. It has helped me to understand myself, my strength, and also it has helped me to prioritize things in my life that I did not prioritize, like goals, my future, my accomplishments. Those things, it doesn't matter. Like I said, things that matter is now, today, and then the people that matter are those who are present with you today. And I think like that is a message that I would like to give to people. And other than that, as a medical profession, I would like to say that I was very lucky that I was diagnosed at a very early stage. So that made my journey less arduous than it would have been. So I would like to encourage the listeners to educate themselves about cancer or any disease, and then don't just like hide your symptoms. Like, talk to a healthcare professional. You don't have to go for a checkup or something. If you know someone, just talk to them. Don't Google it. Google is something that it's not for everyone, but like talk to a healthcare professional, try to understand your symptoms, and then it might not turn out to be cancer, it may be something else, but have that peace of mind. Like, come forward with the things that you have going on in your body. That is what's one message that I would like to give to the listeners.
That's wonderful, Viti. And I'm sure the listeners are, inspired, I'm myself very inspired to have you here. And when I heard about you, I was, like, wow, that's a courageous move, because it takes a lot from the heart. Your heart would be exploding, but to come out, it takes time. So thank you very much for, holding us in this space and sharing this. It's just not a story, but a story of hope, and friendship. Yes. So anybody who's going to referral hospital, if you ever get the chance, do look out for Viti, I think that's going to be very important to find you, because I'm a regular at referral hospital. Now I know you're there. Yeah. Anything, Dr. Vishala, that you would like to say?
I think as I've started this my profession in oncology, one thing I think I've noticed is it's quite common in Asian countries. We as women, we are so ashamed to talk of our bodies.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's really sad when I see it as an oncologist. We don't. If you have a breast lump, we just ignore it. Once it becomes stage 4, then they present to a doctor when it's difficult for them, and then we can't do anything. Nobody wants to talk about bleeding from the vagina, which is of course like a symptom of cervical cancer or endometrial cancer. We have been stigmatized to talk about our bodies. It is very shameful. I'm talking about Asia, because our Western counterparts, I think they talk about it openly.
Yeah,
they have sex.
open.
Yeah, they have sex education. But in the Asian countries, if you look at it, we are still even. I've seen younger people, like there was recently a very young lady in her 20s, and she had something in her nipple. Even that she was shy to tell me. She's a female, telling another female doctor. Even someone who's younger than me, even in her 20s, is too shy to talk about her body. So we're all, I don't know, in some way there is that taboo about our bodies. We're too ashamed to talk about it. But the thing is, once the earlier you seek help, you're basically saving your life, So I don't know. That's why I started on, going on, doing whatever I can to raise awareness. I think that, that shame over our bodies, that should end, feeling ashamed to talk about our symptoms, our bodies, that should end. And of course, the only way is, of course, to educate and raise awareness. And I think I'll have to reiterate to our listeners, the earlier you catch breast cancer, the earlier the stage, the higher your survival. Stage 1, stage 2, these are the best stages that you can be in. Once you're in stage 3 and all, it decreases, 50% survival chances and all, it decreases. So what I would say is, please don't be ashamed of your bodies. If you find a lump, that you have to, get it checked at the earliest. And the thing is, there was a data which showed that breast cancer screening in the state of Nagaland is just 0.3%. Yes. And that is kind of shocking, because this is number 2 cancer in women in the state, and this 0.3%. So if you want to know, screening of course is done with a mammography. If you're asking where do we get a mammography, it's there in Good Health Diagnostic. That is right in town, next, I think opposite to Hotel Acacia and the East Dimapur police station.
Okay.
It costs around
Yes, yes.
2,500 rupees. And once in a, if you're above 40, of course, they recommend once in a year to do a mammography. But every month, I think 10 to 14 days after your periods, you have to examine your breast if you're still menstruating. If you're not menstruating, they usually recommend first day of the month, usually first day of the month, because it's easy to remember. Not like it's a specific only in the first day of the month, but it's easy to remember. That's my first day or any other date, as long as it's consistent every month. So most thing I would say, your body, listen to your body when it tells you something. Your body knows when something is wrong. If you find a lump, you should not ignore it till it becomes bad or reaches the end stage. Get it checked immediately. And also check check for lumps every month. Check your breasts. Be aware of changes in your body, and be open to talk about it. Never be ashamed to talk about it with a health professional. And of course, one thing, and I think in my profession the problem is even if they're okay to get the lump checked, they don't want to go to a male doctor. Most they say that the surgeons are male doctors, the gynecologists are male. So I mean, that's another roadblock that is there in my profession. That's something I can't do anything about. So a lot of challenges, in oncology, to be very honest. So yeah, but from my side, I would say the earlier you get it detected, the better. And I think we should end the stigma around being ashamed of our bodies and being ashamed to talk about our private parts. I think that should end soon.
Yes.
That should end.
Yeah, it's actually costing lives.
Yes, exactly.
It's costing lives, and no amount of money can bring them back. If this curtain of this stigma could just be lifted, it really is going to make a big difference, even in the medical field, to have a breakthrough with the patient first. When you came to Diazepam with to do a session with our weavers in the practical thing, after you all left, they were giggling. And I said, why are you giggling? You know what some of them said? Oh, we did not passionately touch our breasts the way we did that. I mean, they take bath, rough, gosol correlation, but not like sincerely, touching below your arm, your breast, because we were doing our breast check, right? And doing some exercises. They found it so funny because nothing of that sort was introduced to them. Neither did we, the way, okay, feel your breast from below, under your arm, lie down, things like that. So it was such a breakthrough. They giggled because they found themselves very funny. And when the training also spoke about, you got to stand in front of the mirror and see if the sizes of your two breasts are different. The thought of it, the imagination made them feel more funny again, because they never looked at themselves standing in the mirror and looking at their body. I mean, people would think you're crazy, right? But honestly, simple things like that, nijo la body ge sawule na ghin bi laga ekta bi ase do, because it comes with a lot of ignorance. A friend of mine, I don't remember which country, so they have this spring bath, and the women and the men have a different section, and the condition is you gotta go to this spring bath naked. And I asked my friend, don't tell me you went to that spring bath, even though it's all female, and you went and took a bath. She said, yeah. I said, never ever can I do that. You know what I mean? I mean, just to imagine myself, we're just talking about a bath. And then, so I think it's a lot to do with one's, perception about the body, how positive you're with your body, and how free do you feel about your body, it all comes down to that. And if we're confident with our body, we wouldn't be afraid to go to any doctors, whether it's a man or women. So it all comes, say, from our society, culturally, traditionally, religiously, how we look at a human body, And I think that's where a lot of barriers medical, practitioners have to go through, like a test for a patient to understand, dude, you got this, and we need to do this. But to have him, pass all those stages, it's the doctor has to walk along with that. From where is this person coming from, the background, all these things break through. Then only you get hold of the patient, because that itself is so important. For me, when I had that pus on my left breast, honestly speaking, freaking 3 months. Every single time I went and laid down on that table like a guinea pig. Honestly, later on, I just didn't feel anything, when the interns would come and look at my breast, and I'm like, at first I was very shy. Not just with the interns, but also doctors looking at my breast, and I thought thousands of things. What would the doctor be thinking, And for me, later on, I just let it go and that, you know what, forget it. He's just a doctor, So later on, I became very comfortable. And that also eased the doctor also, because I was creating more tension to him because of my discomfort. So it's all a correlation, and also how medical practitioners also make the patient comfortable and assured that you're in good hands. So it takes two to tango, as you've said, Dr. Vishala. And well, listeners, I hope that this has been informative for you. This is not the end of the conversation and the awareness, but I think this would encourage you to look up into these topics yourself and talk to real professional practitioners, because Google Doctor does not give everything right, because that is also one sickness that we have. You go to a doctor and you say, well, the Google Doctor says that. I mean, and the doctor's like, well, then why did you go to the Google Doctor, rather than coming to me? So I think that is also one of the things that creates a gap from a real doctor to what is there online, so basically we need to have a discerning heart and mind to know the difference, what to take, what not to take, and everyone's experience is different. So hopefully our listeners, we are assured that whoever has listened or would be listening over and over, we would realize that the human resilience is a one beautiful tool that makes us have a lot of breakthroughs in our life, and also definitely what Viti says, prayer works miracles in people's lives. So not to forget to pray for those you love who have gone through a lot of these pains, but also as a caregiver, they also need prayers. And also to trust the medical practitioner. If we're confused, ask the questions, no matter how silly it sounds. I think it's every right of the patient and the patient's family or the caregiver to ask the questions, because unless we're satisfied with those answers, it's very difficult even to take the right decision to go ahead what is right for the patient, because doctors may suggest, but if the family or the caregiver is unclear of, they will not be able to say yes to the right treatment also. So I think it's all work of collaboration. Right, doctor?
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
Right. So thank you for both of you for coming here. It's been wonderful. And from 90.8 Hills FM, we want to say thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you, Viti, more on the HIV AIDS topic. And any other thing that you feel that you would like to share, our community radio is open for that platform. And Dr. Vishala, I hope this is not going to be the last conversation before you go away. Well, listeners, Dr. Vishala is going far, far away from us, from Nagaland, but very soon we would get to hear more from her, because there's a lot of conversation that needs to be done also. So I'm hoping that Dr. Vishala will come back to our studio and speak on topics that is close to her heart, and also her experience working in Nagaland before she takes her new assignment in Mumbai. I'm not going to disclose more than that at the moment, but definitely her other interview would be of her experience working here. And hey, by the way, this is an impromptu thing that I'm showing to Dr. Vishala. So I think that's going to be very important for us, Dr. Vishala, and we would be glad if you could say yes to that.
Yes, definitely. I would.
Yay! Right, so we're signing off. This is 90.8 Hills FM. You can find us on Spotify, all the recordings, and also the conversation that you look forward to. You can request us. We will send you the link. And find us also in Instagram and Facebook. And it is this, RJ Gugu, signing off.
You're listening to 90.8 Hills FM Radio.
This is 90.8 Hills FM radio station, using our voice to rate your choice. Stay tuned.